Nothing planned as always. I am Mountain Smith reading the Bible. I have read only the book of Genesis, and today I'm reading Genesis 18 for a second time to see where things go. So join me. Hopefully you do. I'm out here at the beach today. Thought it'd be a really good time to just hang out. It's good. All right, so Genesis 17 and 16, we finally get to call Abram Abraham, and Sarai was then named Sarah by the Lord. Sarah is having a son named Isaac, and Hagar, the servant, had a son named Ishmael. Then there's a covenant that goes on by the Lord that Abraham has to follow, and he circumcises basically everybody. So that's where we're at here. So let's get into Genesis 18. So let's see. A son is promised to Sarah. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove belonging to Mamre. Also, I wonder where Mamre actually is. I'm kind of thinking that. One day, Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and noticed 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them, bowing low to the ground. That's a little interesting, why he just bowed. I mean, just kind of ran over and was like, "Hey, how you doing?" "My lord," he said, "if it pleases you, stop here for a while." Oh, maybe he knew they were somebody specific? Or maybe he's just really humble? I don't know. "My lord," he said, "if it pleases you, stop here for a while. Rest in the shade of this tree while water is brought to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue on your journey." So, actually, maybe these 3 people showed up and Abraham already knew, or he saw who they were. The Lord appeared again to Abram near the oak grove between Mamre. One day Abram was sitting at the entrance to his tent, so he must have just known that was him somehow or another. Okay. "All right," they said. "Do as you have said." I like how simple it is. All right, sounds good. So casual. I like it. Obviously, I'm reading the New Living Translation, so I know it's written in a different way from the original King James Version, my understanding of things. So the New Living Translation is supposed to be easier for people to read it. Like myself, having never read the Bible before. Okay, so, all right, these 3 guys said, "Do as you have said." So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, "Hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour, knead it into dough, and bake some bread." Then Abraham ran out to the herd and chose a tender calf and gave it to his servant, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he served it to them. As they ate, Abraham waited on them in the shade of the trees. Oh, he's very, how do we say, he's very quick. He really wanted to make sure that they were fed very quickly. He ran back to the tent. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" the visitors asked. "She's inside the tent," Abraham replied. Then one of them said, "I will return to you about this time next year, and your wife, Sarah, will have a son." That is quite a statement to say. I like it. Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent. Abraham and Sarah were both very old at this time, and Sarah was long past the age of having children. Poor Sarah. She's like, I'm wondering, like, is she happy about this, or is she just like, really, I'm gonna have birth, I'm old, like, come on, let's what are we doing here? Okay. So she laughed silently to herself. Of course she did. And said, "How could a worn out woman like me enjoy such pleasure, especially when my master, my husband, is also so old?" When the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, 'Can an old woman like me have a baby? Is anything too hard for the Lord?' I will return about this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she denied it in saying, "I didn't laugh." But the Lord said, "No, you did laugh." They're kind of like, I don't know, it's a little sarcastic, it feels like, and they're just playing a little bit of a game. Like the Lord's like, "Well, I knew what you did here. I am the Lord. I do know what you do all the time." And Sarah's like, no. I don't want to, do anything to you. That's great. Sarah's listening going, "I'm old. How is this possible?" Okay. Abraham interceded for Sodom. Abraham intercedes for Sodom. It'd help if I could read properly sometimes, right? Oh, Sodom and Gomorrah. This is where things get really bad. I remember reading about this the one time. The men got up from their meal and looked out towards Sodom. As they left, Abraham went with them to send them on their way. Should I hide my plan from Abraham? The Lord asked. For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation. For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of this earth will be blessed through him. That's interesting. So is Abraham his own nation? Is there a place called that? Or maybe I'm just not understanding that. But the Lord here is saying, should I hide my plan from Abraham? So does he want to tell him that or not? Okay. I have singled him out so that he will direct his sons and their families to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. Then I will do for Abraham all that I have promised. So the Lord told Abraham, I have heard a great outcry from Sodom and Gomorrah, because their sin is so flagrant. I am going down to see if their actions are as wicked as I have heard. If not, I want to know. The Lord's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and walk over there myself and find out what's going on, because even though I know, I still got to check it out in person. The other men turned and headed towards Sodom, but the Lord remained with Abraham. Abraham approached him and said, I will sweep you away, both the righteous and the wicked. Suppose you find 50 righteous people living there in the city. Will you still sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do such a thing, destroying the righteous along with the wicked. Why would you be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same? Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of all the earth do what is right? That's a pretty good question. I mean, why kill the righteous or the innocent if they're, not the same as the wicked? And the Lord replied, if I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the entire city for their sake. That's my eye itches there. Then Abraham spoke again. Since I have spoke, let me speak further to my Lord. Even though I am but dust and ashes, suppose there are only 45 righteous people rather than 50. Will you destroy the whole city for the lack of 5? And the Lord said, I will not destroy it if I find 45 righteous people there. Then Abraham pressed his request further. Suppose there are only 40. Abraham keeps on going. Just going to keep on bringing it down. And the Lord replied, I will not destroy it for the sake of the 40. Please don't be angry, my Lord, Abraham pleaded. Let me speak. Suppose only 30 righteous people are found. He is haggling. He just keeps bringing the price down, basically. Please don't be angry, found 30. And the Lord replied, I will not destroy it if I find 30. Then Abraham said, since I have dared to speak to the Lord, let me continue. Suppose there are only 20. And the Lord replied, then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20. The Lord seems pretty confident. He's like, look, you can go all the way down. Doesn't matter. Finally, Abraham said, Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose only 10 are found there. And the Lord replied, then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10. When the Lord had finished with his conversation with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to the tent. Abraham just keeps bringing it down. He's haggling like it's what do they have, those Middle Eastern bazaars or marketplaces? Basically, I think that's what they were. I could be wrong. He's just haggling all the way down there. But he got it down to 10, and the Lord seems pretty confident that there's not even 10 people there in Sodom. And then the Lord finished his conversation with Abram, and he went on his way. So the other two, though, they have gone down to Sodom.